In this clip, I'm going to talk about taking an appreciative stance. And this is really important in terms of the way that we greet families and children and work with our colleagues too. So it's like a golden thread which runs through everything we do. Back in the 70s, the original Milan team talked about families and people not being able to move on under a negative connotation. So if the parents have got a very negative view of their teenage child, the idea was that the child wouldn't be able to move on and grow and become the person they need to be. So they introduced the idea of reframing. So looking for the best intentions in what somebody is doing, to actually see their efforts within a positive rather than a negative frame. And Peter Lang used to talk about every problem being a frustrated dream, which is a really profound idea, because what it does is it invites you to move beyond the problem, to think about what the person was hoping to achieve in their behaviour or in their actions. An appreciative stance also is influenced by narrative and solution-focused approaches, which really attend to the ways in which people can be the best version of themselves and how we can create contexts which can enable people to be their best selves. Alan Wade, who's a psychologist and systemic thinker from Canada, talks about shifting from a effect-based psychology to a response-based psychology. And the idea is that instead of asking someone about what are the effects of that sexual abuse on you, you ask them instead about how they responded to it. And immediately that shifts from a deficit discourse to thinking about what are the person's strengths, what's their resilience, and how did they manage to resist that act of oppression. An appreciative stance is about inviting people into a safe space where you're always looking for what the person's resources are and how you can use them to achieve the aims that you both want. Appreciative inquiry was developed by David Cooper Ryder, originally working in organisations. His way of thinking is based on the heliotrophic principle. That is basically the idea that plants grow towards the light. So the idea is that people grow towards their futures, and they need to have a vision and a dream and a future that they're growing towards. So this kind of leads to a shift towards the future and towards future dreams. Like the song in South Pacific, you've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how are you going to have a dream come true? If you're going out to see a family, you might want to think about how might you introduce yourself to them in a way which will enable them to feel that you care about them, that you respect them, that you're not there to criticise, but you are there to help them move to the best way things can be for them. When you invite them to talk with you, it's about not leaping into thinking about problems, but connecting with them as people. We need to understand risk in a robust way, but we also need to do it within the context of a broad, appreciative understanding of the family and what the person's morality, their ideas about what's right, what's good, what's just, how those have informed what's happened and how they link to what's happened. And the more that we can get into their mindset, their frame of reference, to really understand how their thinking pattern has led for this to be the best outcome at the time, the more we can begin to really appreciate what Peter Lang would call the grammar of the system and enter into it in a way in which we can then change it for the better.